This is NDTV. And you're watching NDTV Hindu.
Good evening, this is Primetime News. News tonight. The country is reeling under a terror alert and more bad news from Presidency College. One case after another of sexual harassment. That's our big story on News Tonight. I'm Radhika Iyer. Let's take a look at the headlines. The Home Ministry issues a terror alert in India, says terrorists may strike at the public places to derail peace talks between India and Pakistan. Sexual harassment in the Presidency College. A professor of zoology allegedly molests his lady colleagues. 16 kgs of party drug ketamine seized at the Chennai airport today in the city, becoming a major drug transit point. Union Minister Dayanathy Maran rubbishes criticism about the World Tamil Conference, says it's about Tamil, not votes.
World Tamil Conference in Coimbatore is not for votes, it's basically to promote.
And NDTV Hindu Impact, popular masala manufacturer, pulls out whole stocks from Puliyantopu after we showed worms in their masala. Jaswant Singh back with the BJP 10 months after he was expelled, says he still stands by his comments on Jinnah.
Doing whatever I can. Happiness ke saath saath sense of relief bhi hai.
Hyderabad Saina Nehwal makes India proud. She's now ranked number 3 in the whole world. India sets target of 269 for Lanka as Asia Cup final. It seems we're winning the Asia Cup. A terror alert has been issued all over India from the Home Ministry as the Foreign Secretaries of India and Pakistan gave positive signs at the joint conference today and say their round of talks has gone very well. The Indian government has issued a terror alert. The Ministry of Home Affairs believes that Pakistani terrorists opposed to the talks may be looking to damage the process that's aimed at reducing the trust deficit between the two countries. It seems that the Home Ministry has said that terrorists could possibly strike at public places, but there is no specific alert to a place or a location or a city. We were joined by the Director General of Police, Latika Saran, who talks exclusively to NDTV Hindu, who says that Chennai is alert as always.
See, we are already on high alert throughout the state because we've been having certain problems on the railways, etc. So our entire force is geared up and is already on high alert. However, in the wake of this message which we've got, we've extended all this access control measures which we had in all railway stations and bus stands, also to the airports. And we are ensuring that all anti-sabotage checks and baggage checks, etc., are being done. There's thorough frisking of all persons getting in. We're intensifying round-the-clock lodge and vehicle checks. There are the highway patrols are on the move the whole time, checking up vehicles, ensuring there is no movement of any kind of explosives whatsoever. See, in our general alerts, one of the places that we concentrate heavily on are the cities, and then onto the coastal patrol area, coastal side also.
We were also joined by Sudhir Ranjan Sen, Senior Special Correspondent of NDTV, to give a perspective on this terror alert and why it comes so at a time when the peace talks are on.
The terror alert has been issued by the Ministry of Home Affairs. It's in fact a countrywide terror alert that has gone out. And in fact, we know for a fact, our sources confirmed to us that the ministry has spoken to various state governments telling them to be on the alert. Aside from the terror alert that has been sent, the idea being that with the talks happening, groups that do not want India and Pakistan to talk could strike to force India's hands again, to create a situation whereby India, the leadership or the government cannot justify re-engaging Pakistan. That is the main fear, because the government of India's reading is that there is a substantial amount of terrorists who are ready, and there is also an element within the Pakistani establishment which may, use this because they are not happy with the steps being taken normalize India and Pakistan, the relationships between India and Pakistan.
Our other top story, a professor at the Presidency College here in Chennai is now in trouble after 4 lady colleagues from the Presidency College have lodged a complaint of sexual harassment against him with the City Commissioner. The women allege that the assistant head of Department of Zoology has abused them inside the college campus. The women personally met the Commissioner this morning and lodged a complaint. We hear of one case of sexual harassment after the other, but the trial takes forever and the victims dread even complaining for the fear of having to repeat over and over again of what they went through. On the news tonight, we ask, are sexual harassment laws in India failing their victims? I'm joined by Magdalene Jayarathnem, Director of Centre for Counselling, and Ramapriya Gopalakrishnan. She's an advocate of the Madras High Court. She joins us on the phone line. And of course, my colleague Salim, who is NDTV Hindu's crime reporter, who's been tracking this particular case of harassment. We'll now perhaps go across to Salim first. Salim, you've been tracking this case. What exactly are the staff members alleging?
Sources from the police department who saw the complaint say that these 4 women who came all the way to the Commissioner's office to lodge a complaint against their colleague have actually lodged a complaint or charges of verbal sexual harassment. Whereas if you see the previous case during the first week of June, when a PhD women scholar filed a complaint against the head of the Department of the Public Administration in Presidency College, she alleged physical sexual harassment, and when the police found it to be true, they arrested the professor and he is at the Pudel prison right now. As far as this case is concerned, they have alleged verbal sexual abuse, and the complaint has been forwarded to the concerned Deputy Commissioner. When NDTV Hindu contacted him, he very clearly said the police will not shy away from taking action if the professor is found guilty. Radhika?
Okay, Salim, thanks very much for those details, but stay on with us because this is our top story, not particularly of this case in the Presidency College. Of course, it is a huge embarrassment for this Institute of Knowledge, considering in 1 month there have been 2 cases of sexual harassment against 2 individual professors, particularly at the level of an assistant HOD of the department. And HOD is alleged of sexual harassment. I'm now joined by Magdalene Jayarathnem. Thanks very much, ma'am, for joining us in our studio. You're someone who meets with students in and out, different colleges, different schools, perhaps even young women who work at different places who talk of, who sometimes open up to you perhaps because they find that kind of friend in you, to open up and say verbally or sexually or physically they've been assaulted or rather harassed in their own college or institution. Would you agree that this is just one of the few cases and so many more students particularly, or perhaps even women, in this case it's women who were harassed at the workplace, are still waiting or perhaps never wanting to complain of the fear of perhaps societal stigma or otherwise?
It's all about power, you know. When there is sexual harassment that takes place, it's always a person who is more powerful than another person, who's exerting that authority to an extent where it's, you know, physically, emotionally, and many times verbally. This was an example of verbal harassment that takes place. But for every one woman who comes out who talks about sexual harassment, I think there are about 80 or 90 who don't come out.
Really?
You know,
is there a research that backs this kind of ratio, 1:80, 80 women?
I don't know if there is.
Out of,
I'm saying
660 is shocking.
See, I'm not sure if there is research on this, but we can for sure say it's a very small number of people who will come out and talk about it.
Yes, and
so there is so much more that's
plenty,
there.
and the reasons can be just varied, and some of them perhaps even fearing to want to narrate or to go through that mentally of what exactly they went through. I'm now joined by senior advocate Madam Ramapriya. You join us on the phone line. You know, the question that we're asking on News Tonight is, are laws in India, sexual harassment laws in India, failing the victims of this very, very gruesome sort of harassment? But again, I perhaps want to take my words back, because there is no law which is there pertaining exactly to sexual harassment, and it's still in the process of a bill. Please, please narrate to us or give us a perspective on what exactly is the status of this particular law.
In 1997, the Supreme Court passed a landmark judgment in a case called Vishaka versus State of Rajasthan. In this particular case, the Supreme Court defined the term sexual harassment, and it defined it to mean not just unwelcome physical conduct, but also unwelcome verbal or non-verbal conduct of a sexual nature. And the Supreme Court in this case, since there was a vacuum in the legislation, that is, there was no legislation specifically dealing with the issue of sexual harassment, the Supreme Court also framed guidelines which are expected to be followed by employers and also other institutions. So even educational institutions are expected to follow these guidelines. The Supreme Court directed framing of, the establishment of complaints committees in both companies and other educational institutions and other institutions as well. These complaints committees are to be headed by women, and they are to also involve NGOs to ensure that the issue is treated seriously and objectively. And at least half the members on these complaints committee are required to be women. Yes. Then the guidelines laid down by the Supreme Court require institutions to take action to prevent acts of sexual harassment. They also are required to establish complaints committees, and then they are required to duly notify the existence of the complaints committees. That is, the students and other people in the university should be made aware of the fact of the existence of these complaints committees. The affected people should know that there is a body to which they can petition in the event of sexual harassment. And then the university also has an obligation to ensure that persons who make such complaints are protected from further harassment or further victimization or any other form of discrimination.
Ma'am, that of course was a lease of life. In fact, if we may pull up that graphics for you of this very case that that Ramapriya was talking about. It was a case in 1997, the Vishaka case against, of course, the state of Rajasthan, where some lease of hope was given to women who are, you may look at those screens there. That is the kind of definition, somewhat a definition to sexual harassment, sexually colored remarks, that's one. And of course, if you have, even if you were shown pornography, that again comes under sexual harassment. Physical contact again comes under sexual harassment. So some sort of a definition at least was given to this, these two words called sexual harassment, which many women may perhaps not even know of, or who are under shock. But that again is the point of concern, ma'am. This judgment, which came in 1997, way back at least more than a decade ago, gave guidelines to institutions and to NGOs to try and support these women. But that's the most appalling part. We don't have a law which women can fall upon. The government, for instance, there's no ministry. The ministry has not been proactive in sort of bringing this law into act, because it's still in the stage of a bill. And for how long, ma'am?
Radhika, how I would answer this question is, even if there is no law as such, even if there is no central law as such on the subject, even the Vishaka guidelines would suffice. So,
that a woman who is alleging sexual harassment, ma'am, can go ahead and legal action would be taken under this particular landmark judgment of the Supreme Court. Is that what you're saying?
No, the complaints committee can recommend appropriate action to be taken. The complaints committee is expected to expeditiously inquire into the complaint. And then they can make recommendations to the university or other educational institution regarding the action to be taken against the perpetrator of the crime.
Okay, thank you. So there is a body where complaints can be made. But do you think, Magdalene, that when there is a law in place, for instance, when the Domestic Violence Act came about, when that particular power was given to women, and the media, of course, went overboard in making people aware that there is something now for so many women in India, particularly rural India, who are victims of domestic violence, that there's something specially for this very violence that can perhaps come in use and come in handy. Do you think that a law, bringing about this bill and making it a law indeed for sexual harassment, will ensure that so many more women come out, and many such men who commit the crime will be booked?
Definitely, because you know, when there is something like sexual harassment that happens, one already is wondering whether they asked for it.
Yes.
There's a lot of guilt. There's a lot of courage that one needs to even go and make this complaint. So even if we don't have a law in place, then can you imagine how much more it is going to be difficult for a person to go? Because it's like there's no point if I go and seek justice. There's no justice that's going to be given to me.
Correct, but you also have, you meet with so many women. Do you also believe that we want to give the kind of benefit of doubt to those who've been facing these allegations? Do you also think that bringing about a law can also bring scope for women to use this as a weapon to even target those professors who perhaps could be failing them?
There are many ways. I think
Yes.
Law is something that's always a two-edged sword. So I don't think, we need to be looking at people who are going to use this as a weapon, because that way then we shouldn't be having the dowry harassment law. So many laws are there in place, right?
Yes.
And it's important to have these laws, and it's important to enforce these laws as well. So I don't think we should be worrying about people who are going to use this law against somebody, but have it in place for those who really need it and who really are looking for justice.
Yes. All right. Lastly, very briefly, ma'am, do you think women who come about now, say perhaps you've been in the profession for really long now, women who perhaps came, say, 5 years ago, and women who come now to openly talk of some sort of a harassment, maybe even verbal, do you find the kind of increase in the level of awareness of what exactly is there legally to support them?
I think there is increased awareness, especially in cities and in towns, I will say, but not really on a rural area or in even in unorganized sectors of work. Yes. Right? For women who are in construction work, for instance, they may not be as aware of different laws that they can use, or what is in place. So I think at least to some extent, people who are more educated and who have access to the media definitely have a more awareness on what is happening.
All right, all right. Thank you so much, ma'am. Magdalene, who of course has been giving us a perspective on how the ground situation is, at least in the city of Chennai. Thank you, Madam Ramapriya, for giving us that legal perspective, and of course Salim, who's brought us that report and who will be tracking this very case in the Presidency College. But to sum it up, it seems open-ended. While on one hand we do say that those of you who are victims of sexual harassment, come out, open up, and perhaps reach out to people like Magdalene, who perhaps can give you more options of how really you can fight that shock and fight that particular person who seems to make you a target, a soft target. There is also a body which is meant to perhaps register this complaint, which is meant to recommend sort of action against the act upon you. But we'll still wait as women, we will still wait for that law to be finally in place in India to make sure that more and more women's victims, particularly women and young girls, are not failed of this very law. Well, we move on. We will have to take a slip into a short break now. But if you're watching this program as you're having dinner, don't touch that remote, because the report ahead will shock you. Stay on.